Hey there, Joy Seeker. It's Jen, and welcome back to Find the Joy with Jen. Thank you so much for being here with me, friends. Today's episode is a little bit different. I'm talking about three moments that define everything else that follows: the last 10 pounds, the first $1,000, and the next 6 months of your divorce journey. Each of these represents a critical threshold, friend, a place where what you do next has a bigger impact than you realize. So, if you're walking through divorce, rebuilding your life, or just trying to figure out what comes next in your life, lean in, friend, because what you do in this next season will set the tone for your healing, your peace, your relationships, and even your family legacy for years and even generations to come. Before we dive in, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit that bell icon so you never miss any new videos. That will help you heal and rebuild and even find joy after divorce to help you move forward with confidence and peace. I would love for you to be part of this community and help you in your journey. So let's start with the last 10 pounds. If you have ever tried to lose weight in your life, you know the first few pounds come off fast. You cut out some sugar, or you drink more water, or you start a new exercise program, and suddenly the scale starts to move a little bit, but then it stops. And those last 10 pounds, oh my goodness, they're so stubborn. They take a different kind of discipline, consistency, and especially mindset to maintain your current weight or keep off those last 10 pounds. You can't just rely on motivation anymore. You need mastery. You need a complete lifestyle change. It is the same with your healing journey after divorce. In the beginning, there's usually a burst of energy. You might say, I'm done being sad, or I'm ready to move on with my life. Perhaps you even read some books and do some journaling, start exploring personal development, and you make some progress, and that is amazing. But then you hit this plateau. That's when the deeper stuff starts to surface. The triggers, the loneliness, the fears, the doubts about whether you'll ever feel like yourself again. That's your last 10 pounds moment. That's when so many people give up because it gets uncomfortable. It feels slow. It's where the real transformation begins. It's also where most people stop doing the work. And here's what I want you to know. Those last 10 pounds of healing, forgiveness, and self trust are the most important ones to keep off. Because if you skip that deep work, the next relationship, the next challenge, the next disappointment will just bring it all back. Healing, true healing, requires sustained intention. Just like keeping off those last 10 pounds. You can't just do it once and it's over. You're constantly checking at the scale and then cutting back a little bit or increasing your exercise to maintain that 10-pound weight loss. It's the same with your healing journey after divorce. It is not about perfection, it's about checking in and continuing to persevere. And it's not all about losing something. It's about evolving and becoming something better. It's about becoming someone who can sit in a little bit of discomfort without giving up. The you who no longer needs validation to know your worth. The you who can stand in peace, even when your circumstances aren't peaceful. That is the version of you who finishes strong, my friend. So let's talk about the first $1,000. Here's the thing, not every dollar is worth the same amount. Some dollars buy convenience, some buy comfort, and some buy luxury. But those first dollars, I called it the first $1,000, the ones that pay your rent, keep your lights on, and put food on the table, those are worth more than all the rest of your money combined, right? Because those dollars represent survival. They buy your peace of mind. They keep you safe and fed and steady enough to take your next step. Once your essentials are covered, everything else, dinners out or new clothes or even a streaming service, becomes optional. They're nice, sure, but they're not necessary. But those first dollars are the difference between chaos and calm, between fear and freedom. And when you understand that some dollars are simply worth more than others, it changes the way you see what really matters. You stop chasing everything and start protecting what is really essential. So let's translate this to your divorce journey. Your emotional energy works the same way. Not every bit of energy you spend is worth the same. There is a kind of survival first $1,000 that you absolutely need just to survive this season. That's energy used to manage your daily responsibilities when your world is turned upside down by divorce. That's energy used to regulate your own emotions so you don't spiral after a difficult text or exchange with your ex. And that's energy that you use to show up for your kids even when you personally are done and running on empty. That is the energy you use to pray, to cry, to breathe, and to remind yourself that God is still with you. Those are your survival dollars. They're not glamorous, but they are critical. And just like with money, until those first emotional needs are covered, you don't have the margin for anything else. You can't think about what's next if you haven't stabilized what is now. You can't invest in finding joy if you're still trying to pay the bills of pain and fear. But once that foundation is secure, once you've earned your first emotional $1,000 through healing, faith, and support, the rest becomes overflow. That's when you start to rebuild and dream and even thrive again. So remember, not every dollar, not every effort, not every day carries the same weight. Some are just more valuable because they keep you alive emotionally, spiritually, and physically. Honor those first $1,000, the ones that sustain you, because without them, there's no abundance, there's no joy, and there's no peace that lasts, my friend. So when I work with my clients, I often say, let's start by earning that first thousand. Let's build those habits, the thought patterns, and the faith that get you out of survival mode. Because once you've done that, you can do anything, my friend. So let's go back for a minute and think about the time between the ages of 15 and 25, that decade of your life. It is massively important. It's been referred to as the decade of decision. That's when you make all of the major life decisions in your life about what you believe, about how you'll treat other people, about how to take care of yourself. You also choose your education, your relationships, your career path, your values, and your habits. And even though you may not realize it at the time, the decisions that you make in those 10 years, that decade of decision, usually determine the type, the quality, and the pace of the entire life that follows for you. Now, sure, you can always make course corrections. Thank goodness for that. But it's much harder to undo the 10 years of choices than it is to make one good choice early on in that decade of decision. And the same is true for your divorce recovery. There is a critical window right now, the next 6 to 12 months of your life, where your choices matter more than ever before. You are laying the foundation for how you will think and feel and even love for the rest of your life. If you spend this time trying to survive, numbing, avoiding, or repeating old patterns, you will carry all of that with you into your next chapter. But if you spend this time learning, healing, taking inspired action, the quality of your life skyrockets. It is the same principle. The choices that you make in the next few months will determine your trajectory for years to come. That's why I always say this isn't just about your divorce. It is about your destiny, friend. That's why this moment matters so much. This is your spiritual decade of decision. So let's talk about your next 6 months. Maybe you've already been divorced for a while, or maybe you're just stepping into it. Either way, this is your decade of decision moment. And it reminds me of a scripture verse in Doctrine and Covenants, section 123, verse 6. It says, "You know, brethren, that a very large ship is benefited very much by a very small helm in a time of a storm, by being kept workways with the wind and the waves." I love this scripture so much because it's so powerful. You might feel like you're in the middle of a storm right now, waves of emotion and uncertainty and fear, or even grief. But just like a small helm steering a massive ship, the small, faithful choices you make right now will determine where your life goes next. You might not be able to see it yet, but the way you handle this season will have a generational impact on your family forever. Now, I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that to empower you because you get to decide what legacy this moment leaves in your family. Think about your kids or the people watching your life. They are learning how to handle adversity by watching you. They are watching how you talk to your ex. They're watching how you pray when things get hard. They are watching how you get back up when life knocks you down. You're teaching them resilience, humility, forgiveness, and faith, not through lectures, but through your example. This is your legacy. When you do this work, when you choose healing over bitterness, peace over control, growth over resentment, it doesn't just change your life, it changes the generations that follow. Your children will carry your peace, not your pain. They'll learn how to navigate hard things with faith and courage because you modeled it, friend. And even if your kids are grown, your example still matters so much. It will ripple through all of your relationships, all of your friendships, and your future. You're building a new spiritual inheritance, one grounded in resilience, humility, and divine trust. So when I say the next 6 months matter, it's because that is when the new you is being formed. This is when you rebuild your foundation mentally, emotionally, spiritually, financially. This is when you start to rise, my friend. It is not about rushing, it is about rooting. This is your helm decision. And even though it may seem small, it can completely change your direction and bring you safety through this storm. You don't have to have everything all figured out. You just have to start taking consistent, inspired action. Little steps every day that align with who you want to become. That's how your healing happens. That's how you move from surviving to thriving. That's how you turn pain into purpose. So let's talk about one more thing, the difference between reaction and taking inspired action. When you're going through a crisis, it is so easy to react. We all do it at times. You try to fix, control, and defend, to let emotions lead the way. But inspired action, it's different. Inspired action comes from peace, not panic. It's when you pause, you pray, and you move forward with intention and purpose. It's when you respond to the situations that occur in your life instead of reacting to them. And that's where real power comes from. That's what I teach you. During divorce, the temptation is to just get through it. But I am inviting you to grow through it. And you can't do that alone, my friend. You need people, you need tools, and you need spiritual guidance to help you see clearly. You need truth tellers and encouragers in your corner. You need practical strategies that help you rebuild emotionally and spiritually. This is exactly why I created my Faith-Filled Divorce community to provide you with a combination of emotional support, Christ-centered, spiritual, scriptural wisdom, and practical tools from someone who has been through your exact same situation. I have walked in your shoes, my friend, to help you navigate this season with grace and confidence. Because when you have the right guidance, the next 6 months can change everything for you. So let me ask you, how are you going to spend your next 6 months? Will you let life just happen to you? Will you take inspired action and start creating your next chapter on purpose? Will you keep replaying old stories or will you start rewriting new ones with God's help? You don't have to do it perfectly. You just have to start. And I would love to help you. Inside my Faith-Filled Divorce Coaching Program, we do this work together week by week. We identify the thoughts that are keeping you stuck. You learn practical tools for peace and strategies and skills that you can apply in your life immediately. And they affect every relationship, not just relationships with your former spouse, but with your children, with your extended family, with coworkers, with everyone in your life. You will see all of your relationships improve as you learn these practical tools and skills. We strengthen your faith and confidence so you can move forward with clarity and purpose. Because I don't want you to just survive this season, my friend. I want you to thrive in it. And 6 months from now, I want you to look back and say, that's when everything started to change for me. So remember, the last 10 pounds are the hardest because that's where transformation becomes identity. The first $1,000 are the most important because they build your foundation for everything that follows. And the next 6 months are critical because they'll shape your peace, joy, and legacy you leave for generations. You are in your moment of decision, my friend, your window of divine opportunity. So take a breath, say a prayer, and take the next inspired step forward because the rest of your life, the joy, the confidence, the peace that you have been praying for starts with the decisions that you make today. Thank you so much for being here today, friend. If you're ready to get the tools and support that you need to make the next 6 months count, come join me inside Faith-Filled Divorce. You can learn more and sign up at findthejoywithjen.com. And if this message has encouraged you today, please give this video a thumbs up and share in the comments what part resonated with you most. Maybe it's the last 10 pounds of healing you're working through, your first $1,000 of emotional rebuilding, or the next 6 months of growth. I would love to hear your story. Until next time, remember you can find joy even here, even now, and this is the time to commit to finding joy in your life. Bye, y'all.